Alrighty, hello. We are doing a business analysis consultation to a global retail company about their sales. I'm Nicholas Benavides.
I'm Casey Bringas.
I am Courtney Decker.
I'm Paul Epodoi.
En I'm Luca van Oosten.
Right on. So we are going to get started. So for our overview, um, we are a company well known for putting our customers first and going above and beyond for them. Our goal is to understand the relationship between promotional markdowns and total sales for our four international stores. Those stores are Munich, London, New York, and Dubai. The company collected weekly sales data for a year across the four stores, as well as data related to weather, fuel costs, unemployment, and costs of living. Our desired outcomes from this information will be to make better, more informed data-based decisions, continue to improve the company's already stellar customer service reputation, and through the analyses, find a relationship between promotional markdowns and total sales. Doing this will help us understand how external factors also affect sales, and we seek to improve sales across the company. Now, for the client's questions, they had a few, and the first one is
Perfect. So yeah, the first question was, did total sales for the year exceed $3 million? So for this one, I used a descriptive analysis with the total sales as the variable. For this one, we'll pay special attention to that sum, which we can see that is a little over $4 million, which does indeed exceed those $3 million. So we can say that total sales for the year did exceed those $3 million. Now for the next question, did the total average of sales for the year exceed $20,000? So for this one, I use an explore analysis. Again, for the dependent, I use the total sales. And then we can see that the t statistic calculated from these numbers is much smaller than the t-value, so we fail to reject that null hypothesis. So we can say that the average of total sales does not exceed $20,000. And even though here on the right-hand side, we can see that the mean is a little above 20,000, it's not significantly enough to say that, to reject the null hypothesis. And then the next question was the typical variability of total sales greater than $10,000. So for this one, again, I use a descriptive analysis. And for my options, I got the standard deviation, which is almost $20,000, which we can see that is greater than $10,000. So we can reject that null hypothesis and say that the variability of total sales was indeed greater than $10,000.
the next question is, are total sales for the year equal across all four stores? So while stores 2 and 4, or Dubai and New York, have the highest and most similar total sales statistics, store number 1, Munich, isn't too far behind that. The biggest difference comes with store number 3, London, which has a significantly lower mean in their total sales than the other three stores. The large difference in mean, medians, and variances suggest that there are significant disparities in store performance. So no, total sales for the year are not equal across all four stores. Question 5, are total sales from promotional markdowns for the year equal across all four stores? We also ran a descriptive statistics for this one, and we did learn that total sales for markdowns are not equal across the four stores. For question 6, our average total sales for the year on holidays equal to total sales on non-holidays? For this question, on SPSS, we ran an independent samples t-test. The first thing we noticed was the difference in mean, suggesting total sales are higher on holidays than non-holidays. Since the p-value in the equal variances not assumed row is 0.003, which is less than 0.05, this shows that the findings are statistically significant in the difference in total sales between holidays and non-holidays. All this to say, yes, average total sales for the year on holidays are significantly higher than on non-holidays.
So when we come to number 7, we're comparing the average total sales across locations. Was Munich the top performing store by more than 10,000? So looking at the descriptive statistics, Munich store 1 has a total sales average of $20,766.43. When we compare Munich's sales to the other stores, we find that it's more than 10,000 ahead of store 3, which is London, with a difference of 13,000, a little over 13,000. However, Munich is not more than 10,000 ahead of store 2, which is Dubai, or store 4, which is New York. In conclusion, Munich was the top performing store by more than 10,000 only when compared to store 3 or London. So, question 8. How is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, and total sales for the year related? So, looking at the correlation between the Consumer Price Index and total sales, we see a weak negative correlation of negative 0.191. This means that as CPI increases, total sales tend to decrease, although the relationship is not very strong. So the p-value of 0.006 shows that the correlation is statistically significant at the 1% level, and this indicates that this is negative relationship is likely not due to chance. So in summary, while CPI and total sales are negatively related, the relationship is weak, suggesting that other factors may influence total sales more strongly. And then next, number 9, how are unemployment and total sales related for the year? So looking at the correlation between unemployment and total sales, we find a weak negative correlation of negative 0.124. This means that there is a slight tendency for total sales to decrease as the unemployment increases, but the relationship is weak. So the p-value of 0.075 tells us that the correlation is not statistically significant at the 5% level, and this means that the observed relationship is likely due to chance rather than being a meaningful or strong connection. So in conclusion, while there is a slight negative relationship between unemployment and total sales, the lack of statistical significance means that we cannot confidently say that unemployment affects total sales.
Right, I'm gonna talk about question 10, which is, are the temperature and total sales for the year related? So in this analysis, I used a bivariate correlation in SPSS to examine the relationship between temperature and total sales. The Pearson correlation coefficient is minus 0.296, which indicates a moderate negative relationship between temperature and total sales. The p-value for this correlation is less than 0.001, which confirms that the relationship is statistically significant. And this negative correlation means that as the temperature increases, total sales tend to decrease. Essentially, warmer temperatures are associated with lower sales. So from a business perspective, this suggests that a seasonal change may impact the sales. So companies should adjust their strategies, such as offering seasonal promotions or preparing for sales fluctuations during warmer months. And yeah, I also added a image or a screenshot of the SPSS output, the correlation table, which is where you can see the results. All right. So for question 11, we performed a regression analysis to compare the CPI, unemployment, and temperature as predictors of the total sales of the year. Our null hypothesis stated that the CPI is not the best predictor, while the research hypothesis suggested it is. So temperature is the strongest predictor with the lowest p-value, followed by CPI. Unemployment has a marginal positive effect. So with a low p-value and a high beta coefficient, temperature is the best predictor, and which disapproves our null hypothesis. So I would recommend focus on temperature-driven sales strategies while considering the CPI trends for long-term forecasting, and adapt pricing, inventories, and promotions to match the seasonal temperature variations.
For question 12, Paul is going to go ahead and answer that one for us.
Yeah, question 12 on whether Munich is the top performing store for housewares. We ran an ANOVA one-way analysis, and the p-value we arrived at is 0.220, and compared to the significance level of 0.05, we realized that it's not a significant difference in the houseware sales for Munich. So we also realized from the descriptive statistics that store 2, Dubai, had the highest houseware sales. So we reject the null hypothesis that Munich is making more houseware sales. And on question 13, as to whether employment rates have a greater impact on total sales than the cost of living, we realized that the cost of living has a higher or greater impact on the total sales compared to the employment rate, which had a weak negative correlation, and statistically significant.
So in conclusion, there are a number of conclusions that can be made from the client's questions. A few that stood out to us that we would recommend on focusing on are as follows. Focus on markdowns that drive sales, such as the automotive markdowns rather than women's clothing markdowns. Don't ignore external factors such as temperature, because they do have an impact on sales. And as we adjust accordingly for things such as holidays, we really can drive sales and improve to the total sales of the company. Finally, an option we might want to consider is our London location. Across all the locations, the London stores are poorest performing. And so if we don't focus on that one and finding ways to improve sales, we might want to consider either closing that one down and just having seasonal pop-ups so that we can still satisfy customers and keep our reputation of being stellar in our customer service.